About a month ago, after only 3 years of ownership, and after telling everyone online they should go buy one, I sold my 2007 Honda Fit, and then I replaced it with this. So what gives? Well, when I bought my Fit, I was looking for something to drive in the winter to avoid driving my Insight in the snow. I thought I'd pick it up, drive it for a winter or two, and then sell it. 2021 wasn't the best time to buy a used car, but it also wasn't quite at the peak of the used car market insanity either. So it looked like, so long as I didn't hold on to it for too long, I wouldn't have too much trouble breaking even after the snow had cleared. But then something I hadn't anticipated happened. I wound up genuinely loving my Honda Fit. But it was always a ticking time bomb. I still wanted to try and break even, or at the very least get close to breaking even when I sold it, so I knew I had to be mindful of how many kilometers I was racking up, something I'm not necessarily all that good at doing. I like driving my cars. Ultimately, I was able to sell it for exactly what I bought it for, which, including those pesky transfer taxes and insurance costs, was only $2 shy of covering the purchase of my new truck. Not bad at all. Using a little car guy math, that pretty much means I got a free truck. But why exactly did I decide to replace a Honda Fit with a Chevy Avalanche? Well, I drive race cars, and race cars are not street legal. So if you want to be able to move those cars from the track to your home and vice versa, you need a truck and trailer. This wasn't always strictly the case. When I first started racing, we were allowed to leave our cars in a field behind the track for no cost, which, as you might imagine, was absolutely abused by just about everyone. Which is why it's completely understandable that the new ownership at the track doesn't want us doing that anymore. But it does make racing slightly more prohibitive to get into. I definitely wouldn't have been able to get into it as easily as I had if we'd needed a truck and trailer right off the bat. But that's another story entirely. The point here is I do need a truck and trailer, and I already have a small fuel-efficient car, my Insight. And while I've been able to get by using my dad's truck up until now, he is my pit crew after all and is almost always coming with me to the track anyway, he's not planning on renewing the lease on his Ford Ranger. And on top of that, it's just nice to not have to rely on borrowing someone else's truck to move your stuff around, even if that someone else is your dad. But enough truck talk. This is a Fit video. Let's talk about the Fit. I think what impressed me the most about the Fit was its versatility. From the fold-flat magic seats to the insane cargo capacity, surprising towing ability, and plucky track performance. The Fit was able to do just about anything I wanted it to. Just about anything other than tow a race car, that is. This versatility is something its replacement carries on, with fold-flat rear seats, an extendable cab, removable tonneau covers, and a removable rear window. But I promise this is the last time I'll bring up the Avalanche. It's just also surprising me in similar ways to the Fit. I loved just how usable of a car the Fit was. Its high ceiling and low load floor meant it really could fit just about anything inside of it. And while from most people's perspectives, it is far from a big car, it had an almost unbelievably roomy interior. To quote a certain almost definitely unlicensed doctor, it's bigger on the inside. But this is all stuff I already went over in my original video, which I, by and large, still agree with. I'd still recommend the Fit to anyone looking for a reliable, practical, relatively small car. The only issues I ever faced were the spark plugs failing prematurely, a sub-$100 5-minute fix, the driver's side door lock failing from water pooling up inside of it, an unfortunately unavoidable design flaw in these cars, especially if you happen to live in a rainforest, and that's really it. Granted, I only put around 23,000 kilometers on it over my 3 years of ownership, but it was also only really driven over the winter months. And beyond the spark plug failure, it was completely reliable and worry-free. And the engine was laid out in such a way that most basic maintenance, in particular oil changes, were really easy to do. I also really appreciated that Honda went with a timing chain instead of a belt for these cars, providing a bit more peace of mind. What surprised me the most about the Fit was just how much fun it was to drive in performance settings. I'll always be a fan of driving slow cars fast. It's so much fun to be able to push a car to its absolute limits, and the Fit was great for doing that. At autocross, people would repeatedly tell me it looked like I was about to tip over, and I'd frequently be up on 3 wheels, supposedly even 2 from time to time. But while the car would lean, I knew I could trust it to stay planted. and it was easy enough to tell where its limits were. Although one day I did let myself push it past its limits, and I knew I was, letting the rear end get loose through a back and forth section and wound up backwards in the dirt. But hey, that's what you gotta do in order to figure out how far you can push things. And beyond the rear bumper skin getting knocked loose, no damage was done, and the bumper skin was an easy fix. It was fun to surprise people with just how competitive I could be in a stock Grandma-mobile with some old racing slicks thrown on it. That being said, I am definitely looking forward to being able to use autocross as a way to get more intimately familiar with the limits of my dwarf car. Something I wouldn't quite have been able to tow to and from the track with the Fit. I'm still a small car guy and probably slightly too brand loyal to Honda, but I really didn't need to have 3 small cars. 2 of them are non-negotiable. My Insight and Rabbit aren't going anywhere. But the Fit was always teetering on the edge of being needed. Chances are I'll wind up picking up another small car before winter because I do still value fuel economy and efficiency, and I still don't want to drive my Insight in the snow if I can help it. But I'm glad that my Fit has gone on to someone who needs it more than I do, and that through selling it, I was able to buy a vehicle I do have a need for, without having to break the bank. In my original video, I briefly compared the Fit to my old EK Civic hatch, and I can't help but feel if I'd bought another old Civic hatchback instead of the Fit, that I would have done more to try and hold on to that while also buying a truck. I was endlessly surprised and impressed by the Fit. I enjoyed driving it, thought it looked pretty good, especially with the right set of wheels on it, and was able to fit more stuff in it than I could in my old Civic. But still, it never really felt exactly like a long-term Nigel car. I like small and weird vehicles, and while it was a somewhat weird autocross car and it had a lot of cool, unique features, it didn't quite scratch the same itch as some of my other cars before it. But I am still glad I got to have the Honda Fit experience, and still see it as one of the objectively best small cars out there. Last time I ended things by telling you to go buy a Honda Fit. This time I'm saying, buy a Honda Fit, enjoy it for 3 years, then sell it and buy a truck. Or don't. It's your life. Do what you gotta do. But if you are in the market for something Fit-like, don't write it off. They're fantastic little cars, and mine never stopped surprising me with just how much I enjoyed it.